1,000 subscribers, Jay.
It's so lame.
1,000.
You know
We're monetized.
You know what's lame about it? Is now I'm like only 1,013 now, because like that 13 number, 14, 15, 16, whatever, 30.
It feels like it started over in a sense.
Well, I feel I remember when we started Let's Talk Legion and we got those an abundance of plays out of the gate.
Right.
And it got really exciting, but then after a while the number was just kind of arbitrary. Like, even I'm just gonna say if it went over to like 3,000 or 4,000, it was just kind of like, it's just a number. At some point, it wasn't even really a big. It was just a thing.
Let's Talk Legion was like a top 25 podcast on iTunes. Do you remember that feeling?
I do.
It might be my greatest accomplishment as a podcaster.
I'm not gonna get super into it. I'm not gonna go full hashtag transparency. But do you remember when I was like,
yeah,
something is rotten here, and I was like researching it? I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, that's funny.
Let me just say this. If there were some shenanigans that happened with anything that was distributed on TV time via Sight and Sound, I would have no problem with it.
Oh, me neither.
If it meant, like, I kind of want to be like, hey, remember when something was fishy? Can you make that happen again?
Right.
Please.
Yeah, I don't know what that all, because we get, I don't want to go to it. Are we going to do Let's Talk Legion?
Well, yeah. I mean, we're going to cover the show in some sort of capacity.
Yeah, we're still trying to figure out if it's going to exist on that channel or on this channel. So
we have to rebrand it, and it'll be called like Let's Chat Legion or something like that. I don't know. It's something.
They wouldn't make us do that.
I don't know.
Isn't Let's Talk Legion our show?
No, it's not, technically.
Yeah, I know.
You know that.
They bought it from us.
No.
They own the rights.
I've only sold one property in my entire life, and that was my shirt company.
Yeah.
And somebody just was like, hey, I like this brand. Can I buy it from you?
What a weird experience.
I was like, yeah, sure. He was like, how much do you want for it? I was like, I don't know, $2,000. And they were like, okay.
That was it?
Yeah. It was literally dormant. Like, it was laying dormant.
I know.
And somebody saw it in my portfolio.
Where is it now?
I don't think the guy's doing anything with it. The guy was one of the most annoying clients that I've ever had in my entire life as a designer, but he kept coming back and asking me to do things. I would literally tell him, I would make it difficult for him to work with me. Yeah. I would increase his prices, tell him I was busy, and he would say things like, I love your style. I'll pay whatever it takes. I'm
right.
Ugh.
And I do love your style. And ever since I bought your company, I've been through some hard times, Jay.
It's unfortunate. I look back on that brand and just think to myself, if I had more time, if I could make certain things my main focus, but you know what? That's not what it is. It's not that. It's being real about things. It's saying, this is a really cool idea, but the time and energy that it would take to make this a thing is I'm not necessarily there. That's why with podcasting and this whole Sight and Sound thing we're doing, I feel like the plan makes sense.
What you would need is to needle cast your stack and then get a new sleeve.
That's right.
That's how you increase your longevity.
I'm not a huge fan of the verbiage in that show. We'll talk about that.
Talk about having time on your hands. Brando has been speed watching The Leftovers.
It's been hilarious.
It has been. We've been getting live updates.
I haven't been contributing to that group text.
I was, until I realized he planned on exhausting me of it. So I had to step back.
How dare you?
But it has been a pleasure to watch him do this. It's so exciting, especially because that's one of my favorite shows. And I talked about being loud on the shows that I really want people to pay attention to. So
just because I'm not participating in the, no, I'm just saying this to him more than anything. Just because I'm not participating in the group text doesn't mean I'm not thoroughly enjoying his reaction.
Right. So it's been great. It's been fun. Really smart guy. Him reacting to The Leftovers reminds me of how everyone reacted to Lost and how people were kind of spot on with their theories, even though different variables might, make it different here and there.
Yeah.
But anyway, he's a super smart guy, and it's just been hilarious watching him watch the show. And I think we're gonna do a thing together where we and you're welcome to join. I think we're gonna discuss his experience binging this show. We'll put it out as a TV ep. The other reason why I wanted to bring up Brando is because if you didn't listen to that after party, you're missing out. Jay and I were taking a look at it, and we realized that based on, like, we changed up how we're titling the episodes in general, but that title specifically, because it was removed of any kind of topics that we might have discussed, we titled it Brando Takes Over the Show. We thought, well, maybe people just didn't want to tune in or didn't know that there was a lot of goodness in there. Most of the goodness is just the personality of the show and what he brought to it. I think we had a blast doing that. So if you guys skipped over that last week, part 1 and part 2, part 1 was sort of just like a general all over the place.
2 was a legitimate deep dive inside baseball stuff.
Yeah.
I was interested to see how people would react to that, but it seems like people were interested.
Yeah.
There's over the past, I think, few weeks, and I think over the next month or so, something interesting has been happening, whether people realize it or not, with Sight and Sound. There are a few, and I talked about this in my music episode, but there are a few things going on that are sort of what I consider proof of concept for the future of Sight and Sound. Like that after party, I think we both agree that's what we've always wanted after party to feel like.
Yes.
And I think that's what we would like to do more of in the future. You know, more people just sitting around talking, letting the conversation go wherever it would be. I've dabbled in video on my music show, and that, you know, that will happen sometimes it won't. But then, you know, more than music, I'm probably going to make an announcement next week about that finally releasing it. And even that video, even that wild video you put out, those are just like little proof of concept things, and I'm glad that we're sort of throwing out there for whenever we do announce Patreon. Now's not the best time for that to announce Patreon, but when we do announce it, I think people can look at certain things and say, okay, they can do more of this in the future.
Speaking of Patreon,
yeah,
the Schmodown just announced theirs.
Right.
Our buddies in the Wangers.
That's why I said it's not a good time.
For those of you who don't know, the Wangers are the production crew of the Schmoes Know Show. They're doing their own thing now. They have their own brand and own show. And so they started a Patreon. And I donate to that Patreon. And then I had every intention of donating to the Schmodown Patreon.
Right.
But the more and more I think about it, the more I don't know that those people would donate to ours. And even if they did, that'd be a great gesture, and I'd appreciate it. But all it does is just balance itself out. Because I give them money, they feed me money. It would be the same if neither of us did either one.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you guys don't think that we have just researched everything possible about Patreon to the nth degree, then you're crazy, and you don't know us. But there's a thing that they talk about on Patreon in some of the emails that we've been getting from them, like little tips and this and that says when other people, other brands, Patreon, people use Patreon, when they donate to you, make it known to your audience. Like, hey, Sight and Sound just donated to us. Make sure to check out their stuff and this and that. So hopefully that would be the case. I would certainly do it. I'd be like, hey, guys, this other brand. I don't know. It's interesting. I think looking at those things, I think both of those shows are doing really good stuff on Patreon that appeals specifically to their audience, but it's made me realize that the things that we have planned, if you like what we've already been doing, then I think you guys are going to be super stoked. It makes me feel good about what we have planned.
In the past 2 weeks, I bought a brand new camera lens and a new mic.
Yeah.
And I was so excited to get those things. I got them in the mail, opened them as packages,
right?
Was excited for a brief moment, and then realized I don't think I needed this. And now I'm just looking at it left with this expensive bill, like especially that camera lens.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm partially to blame. I did a little bit of research, but I told Brando what I needed specifically for my videos, and he suggested this lens. Got the lens, put it on my camera, not at all what I needed.
Right.
So I'm debating on sending it back or selling it or just keeping it in case we need it for the future. And all of those things that you mentioned before. What word did you use about wild and
Proof of concept.
Yeah, all of that.
But
All that.
proof of concept.
The examples of all that stuff.
Yeah, proof of concept is essentially like if you have an idea of something, the idea doesn't get you very far. You need to actually have some sort of model or a build or show it performing.
Right.
Planet of the Apps. That would be, they do that on Planet of the Apps. Remember that show?
Planet of the Apes?
Apps.
So anyway, I bought a mic. Like right now we're podcasting with dynamic mics and they're being held up on arms, mic stands.
Yeah.
I use a condenser mic at my desk when I'm at my house. I bought one of these because I thought about starting these movie commentaries and I realized, look,
You can't hold that.
if I'm going to be doing a movie commentary, I can't have my condenser mic that's supposed to be on my desk. I can't be holding it. It'll be noisy. I'm going to have to lay down when I do these movie commentaries.
Why?
Think about how my room is arranged for one. If I'm watching a movie, I'm most comfortably going to be in my bed laying down, and it's going to be for an hour and a half to 2.5 hours at a particular time. I'm going to need to be comfortable. So I'm glad that I bought one of these mics so I could stretch it across my room and just hold it and lay there, and maybe I'll fall asleep on air. Oh my God. Can you imagine?
You need to get like a hook and suspend it down from the ceiling just so you can lay down.
Which
just
vocalist?
lean up every time you.
Wasn't there a vocalist that used to do that?
When I saw 21 Pilots live before they came on stage, amazing show.
Yeah.
There was just, first of all, think about that group, 2 people, right?
Right.
Not much on stage. It was just a drum set
and a synth.
Yeah, they had like a piano sort of set up, and then there was a mic cord. I mean, this is a massive stage, so it was like dangling from the ceiling or whatever. And so before the show, this tech walks out on stage, and he takes a microphone, and he just goes like that, and it starts. When I say goes like that, he takes it and just like swings it.
Yeah,
and it's
like a pendulum.
Swinging back and forth, and all of a sudden. The first song on their album, it comes in with that like breakbeat, that like
right,
and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And lights start going crazy.
That's dope.
Instantly, the stage just like turns into from nothing to just like going crazy.
Everything.
Yeah, and I'm like, what is happening? And all of a sudden, the drummer walks out on stage wearing a mask and like covered in just like random paint, and he just starts playing.
That's so sick.
And then all of a sudden, the other one comes out like walking out like he's in fucking Marilyn Manson. He's all like, I don't know. He just looks like it looks like a dummy, and he's wearing a mask, and it's just swinging. And then he catches it and just starts rapping.
Right.
And then in between parts, he'd like throw it again. Oh, it's just fucking awesome. I was so into it, so about it.
Early Memphis May Fire, their vocalist had one of those like boxing ring announcer microphones.
So
he like cups it in his hand.
I got a story about
if you guys know what I'm talking about, those like really big square chrome ones that have the black stripe is the microphone.
Right.
He just had it cupped in his hand and used that live. That's pretty cool. Imagine, I want to know your take. Ryan Snelling does a movie commentary, records it.
With one of those.
No, well,
okay.
Sure, okay, that can be there. Records one of those, ends up waking up and realizing that he fell asleep during the movie commentary. I want to know, what do you think I do with it? Do I publish it as is?
I think you look around.
Do I edit it and do the second half over? Like, what's the final product?
Is this live streamed?
No.
Oh, okay.
What do you think I'm sitting there and realizing what's happened? What do you...
Well, I think your computer's crashed because it's just recorded for 5 hours and it can't take the.
My naps aren't that long.
I don't take naps.
I'm talking about, what do you think Ryan Snelling does with that final product? Does he leave it? Does he edit it?
I think you edit it. Yeah, I think you edit it like nothing happened, but I think you address it. I think you definitely look. I fell asleep. It was a long night.
I don't know the answer, by the way. I'm just curious as to what you thought I would do.
Going back to the boxing ring announcer microphones, the second show that I ever booked was my first band's last show. And I had invited these bands. I think 95 Theses played, and I invited this band called At Daggers Drawn.
Who's your first band?
Tonight We Dance.
Okay.
Anyways, I invited this other band called At Daggers Drawn, who would later go on to be Sea of Treachery, and really good friends with those guys. Their vocalist, Alex, I remember he goes, where can I set up my stuff? And I was like, you're the vocalist. What do you mean? And he had this like little box. Whoa, my microphone. I was like, oh, you brought your own mic. Okay, I get that. He has one of those microphones.
Is it like in a case that's like got a cushion with the outline and it rests inside of it?
Yeah, so even
some relic.
Even at the time, I think I was like a senior in high school, and it was college. It was college. So at the time, even I was like, oh, got one of those mics, huh? And he was like, yeah, it really makes my voice sound better. And I said, does it really make your voice sound better, or do you just like the way that it looks? He goes, that's a little bit of both. I said, okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember the whole look of duct taping the mic to the cord with like a hot pink duct tape?
Yeah, and just using an excessive amount of it. Yeah. Listen, most microphones need duct tape on the end of that. I'm not saying that, but I mean, we're talking like
it was like a
feet.
It was like to give your microphone character, like it was supposed to stand out and like be a thing.
Yeah,
I think I remember seeing Spencer Chamberlain.
He was the one that started that, really.
Yeah,
and then I think Haley from Paramore carried it over, and then everybody started doing it.
And I did it for my microphone at fucking practice.
Oh yeah,
like not even the one I took around. I just did it at practice.
Right.
Oh good times.
I didn't really have any. The only thing we did was we just had those fucking Pepsi crates.
Yeah.
That's all we had.
That you would dance on stage.
Not dance on. That's something that we've been doing, or that's something that I've been doing ever since that first band. I remember
that.
when I joined, when we started O Jerusalem, I was like, hey, before we do this, before we play live, check this out. And they were like, what the fuck is this about? And I said, you will thank me. Because we would play those shows. There's some shows you would play where you would have monitors, you could put your foot on.
Right.
Everybody needs something to put their foot on.
Every vocalist, yeah, you got to have a knee propped up.
And guitar players and whatnot. Or else Eric just standing there flat-footed.
No, that's what Eric did.
Is that what he did?
He would,
With those long, gangly legs? He'd need to prop something up.
Yeah.
Josh, does he put a leg up?
I don't remember him doing.
You ever
that.
get into a stance?
He was always moving though. He never had to
really?
pause and like.
Yeah. Mark would get in a stance. He had a metal stance.
Yeah.
But
there were parts.
But you would play those shows where you didn't have floor monitors.
Yeah.
And you needed something to put your foot up on. So, and I also just I didn't like being eye level with the crowd.
Yeah, especially when you're not on a stage. If you're playing on the same plane as the audience is, you like to step up on something and look out at everybody and also let everyone see you.
Exactly.
So
that's where they were.
I remember there was a show that I believe you booked at the some Mexican restaurant in Lexington.
I didn't book that show. I was involved with booking. It was at a laundress, yeah.
Right. So imagine going to...
It's a bike shop now.
Imagine clearing out a Mexican restaurant, half of it, for a hardcore show. And it's funny because like their employees were still like working in the background.
It was actually a pretty decent spot. I mean, it was pretty wide open.
It's just weird.
There's an O Jerusalem video on YouTube.
I'm there, because I was there to film Sleep City Sleep that
Taylor
day,
Foyles took pictures of that.
Did he really?
That show, and Gwen Stacy played, and then Patrick. Somebody posted or maybe we watched a music video of Gwen Stacy, and they had footage from that show too.
Right during the gun held to the head of the world video. Yeah. Do you remember Taylor Foyles' band back in the day?
No.
Let's Get It.
Nope.
They had a banger of a track.
Oh,
like
really?
they released an entire EP, but one of their songs was a banger. Reminds me a lot of what's that one band? Ready for the Real Thing? Forever Tomorrow? The band you showed to me?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that band went.
I have CTE.
That band had a straight up banger, and then they went downhill very fast. Were you going to say something specifically about that Mexican restaurant show? Is it related to those Pepsi crates?
I remember seeing you there.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Yeah, I was there. Which, by the way, I talked to my old roommate, John Ransdell. He got a gun pulled on him at one of those shows.
I think I remember that.
And allegedly, he told me to ask Brando if he seems to remember that Brando told him that they wrote a song about that night. But I don't know if that's an actual thing.
Like a Revival Sound song is about that.
Yes.
Supposedly.
Allegedly.
I think I remember that experience, and I don't know if it was because I was there the night that happened, or I remember hearing that Revival Sound did something with it, but it definitely happened, which you don't need me to solidify because you already know that it did.
Right. A couple things real quick before we get into the actual show. Let me just hype you up for a second. So next week, not this week that the episode's coming out, but the week after that is when Black Panther comes out.
Yeah.
We will be previewing Black Panther on next week's Sight and Sound Weekly. Right?
Yeah.
You know what else we're going to be previewing on that exact same episode?
Plotting You?
That's right.
Fuck yes.
Plotting You's new album. So people can look forward to that. Also, Pianos Become the Teeth and Census Fail. Huge music week. That same week that Black Panther comes out.
This whole year,
Massive
man.
week.
This whole year, man.
Movies so far have been like,
No,
where are you?
this past week, though,
Yeah.
it's been a lot of fun to be a movie fan this past week.
Yeah.
But I made this point on my last movies episode on Black Panther. Why people on Black Panther, you should check it out. I still haven't been to the theater.
Right.
I still have not been to the theater. I think February.
Watch Wind River.
Yeah, Wind River is great.
It is great.
February, I think, is when all of these movies are going to start rolling out on VOD, so that people can watch them right before the Oscars.
Yeah.
So I can't decide if I'm going to do reviews of those movies or not. I might continue this protest and just ignore all of them.
What other movies are coming out in February?
If you had not have asked me, I could have.
Let me ask you a question. So I think music took January. Pop culture crown, just a lot of stuff going on. Kendrick with the Black Panther
probably
soundtrack, Justin Timberlake lead up, and all this stuff. Grammys and this and that. So Plotting You album coming out. It's going to be. I feel like Black Panther alone could take February. Is there anything else in February movies wise? Is there any hope for TV in February? Like, where's TV?
I have no complaints with TV right now.
I don't either. Let me tell you this, dude.
I have no complaints.
I just started catching back up with Versace. It is so fucking good.
Really?
My
Andy
God.
Greenwald off base?
Oh, is Andy Greenwald against Versace?
Yeah.
I've been out of this loop. Are you serious?
He's out. On in or
He's
out.
out?
On in or out. He voted that he's out.
He's out?
I think Chris Ryan is down on it too.
That makes no sense because on the first episode, they did like a complete 180 on.
I don't remember them ever being impressed by the show.
On the first episode,
but it took them 2 weeks to decide that they were out.
On the first episode, they did a 180 on what's his name, Ryan Murphy, because they were like, at first they were like, how dare he make this show about Katrina, and then all of a sudden Andy Greenwald at the end was like, I actually think you should make
that was
Katrina
before
episode.
The debut. I'm talking about the 2 specific episodes since the show's been out.
So you know who literally stole the show in episode 2?
Ricky Martin?
No. Nope.
What's her name?
I'm talking about, like, I was captivated by his performance. The guy that plays, what's his name on New Girl?
Schmidt?
I swear to God.
No fucking way.
He was not in it that much.
Yeah.
But when he was in it, I was like, literally captivated by his performance. Like, you know, the physical, and people are going to roll their eyes when I say this, but you know, the physical acting that Heath Ledger was using in The Joker, just without saying a word, that just sold you on what he was doing?
Michael Richards Kramer?
his physical portrayal of this character, I was just like, my God. It was insane to me.
Fine, I'll do it for CC.
It was great. But we have like 6 minutes before we have to abandon the after party portion of the show. I want your take on something. So a few things have been coming out in January, music related, that is almost lit a fuse under me to just make a whole rant video on our YouTube channel regarding Spotify. So Pitchfork put out this article about how to be a quote unquote responsible music fan. and it was all about music streaming and Spotify and how you should spend your money and this and that to support artists. The article was fine. It wasn't ridiculous about it, but I did think about it, this whole notion of, is it the audience's responsibility to quote unquote feel bad about using a service like this? Because coming from the major music industry, the whole portrayal of Spotify is it's bad, it's taking money away from artists. So there's that. And then our good buddy, good friend of the show, John Simmons from Balance and Composure,
Please.
took to Twitter and just had this like weird midlife crisis about his new project Coward, this whole like emo trap thing he's doing, which I really, really enjoy. Basically posted a screenshot of the streams on Spotify, and he was like, "You fucking kidding me? Can't make any money as a musician today. Like, it takes 2,000 streams to count as an album sale," and was just going on this big rant of like, how many album sales is this? Why is it 2,000 streams? And then posted this thing that Spotify just bought a new building that's going to cost $1 million a month for rent or something like that. He's like, "Where's my fucking money?" And I'm just like, why are you doing this right now? Like, why are you putting this on Spotify? Why are you putting this on fans? Why is your music even on Spotify? So what's your take on that? Like, what do you think consumers should feel a responsibility? Do you think they should feel bad about using the services that they do?
No. If you set up that construct to work within the legalities of our system,
Yeah.
that's all to me that we're responsible. And obviously there are levels. We're talking about a digital tech company.
Right.
So obviously if someone was to, make a stance on Pepsi polluting water,
Yeah.
or something like that, then I understand some kind of responsibility, some kind of activism behind that. But I'm sure he's already well aware. I think most people are well aware where we are in the music landscape right now with streaming services in general and him making music. He's already had, even with him specifically, he's already had some of this experience with Balance and Composure.
Right. Slightly different because they were signed to a record label. This one isn't signed, but they were bankrolled essentially by a quote unquote loan. When you sign a record deal and they give you money, you got to pay it back. But at least you see the money before your eyes.
So I don't feel bad.
Yeah.
For listening to his music. So 2000, look, I know it sucks. I know it sucks when you used to sell albums $10 to $13 a pop, and now, sure, 2,000 streams might equate to one album sale or whatever, but it's like, you said it many times before, just figure something else out. Figure out another way.
Amen.
I would, why, I don't remember exactly why Balance and Composure broke up, but why can't he do this alongside Balance and Composure to sort of maximize his career in that sense as well?
He said that if it was up to him, Balance Composure would still be going on. It was primarily other members of the band were getting married and having kids and living their lives.
Right.
And this
yeah,
and
you
that.
told me that.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's not the audience's responsibility and the consumer's responsibility to figure this out, to have this business model. There is this service that exists that people are using, and that collectively, including John Simmons from Balance and Composure and many other bands, have decided to put their music on this platform. No one's held a gun to their head and said, you have to do this. And the argument could be made, well, how are we going to get heard by so many people? Then you need to bite the bullet and do that and put your shit on there and don't complain about it. That whole old model type of bullshit is just like, well, we used to do it like this. Wasn't it so great? I've said it before. I'll say it a million times. At some point in history, somebody invested a shit ton of money in horses because that was the only way to travel. And on that same day that they invested their life savings, the train or the car was invented, and nobody gives a shit about that person. Sorry.
Right.
It's just it's unfortunate, but like you said, I can think of a million ways of things that people can do in order to make it better for themselves. I mean, you know, get on fucking YouTube, get on social media, start a podcast, whatever it may be. Um, but yeah, I hate this whole boohoo thing that's going on and people putting it on the audience and on the consumer because it's not their fault. They're just listening to music.
Right.
So
And again, we've had some time with all of these things.
exactly.
It's like if somebody was to just randomly, I mean, I know that there are a lot of people, every time YouTube makes a change with their platform, people get upset because it wasn't the way that it used to be. But I've also seen a lot of the same people that do that. They're the OG YouTubers that don't even make the same kind of content or the same amount of content that they used to. So it's like, okay, which is it? Are you trying to do this for yourself, or are you just complaining about YouTube because it isn't the way it used to be?
Yeah. We've had similar conversations in regards to people's opinions of Netflix and streaming culture.
Right.
It's interesting. It's fascinating. Let's take a quick break because I have to get this iced coffee out of my system, and we'll come back and talk. What's our first topic?
Let's do movies.
Let's do it. Let's get it out of the way. We love you. We'll be right back. Have you ever listened along with Sight and Sound and thought to yourself, man, I would love to have these types of conversations with other like-minded individuals? Well, there's a place for that. Head over to Facebook and be sure to join the Sight and Sound Facebook group. It was started by our listeners to share their thoughts and opinions, react and comment on episodes and topics brought up on episodes. You could even interact with Ryan and myself. It is a fantastic community that we are proud of, and we think you should join it. We've even made it easy for you. Check out the link in the description box of this podcast and get involved with the Sight and Sound Facebook group today.
Oh, Jay, Hollywood never stops. We got an abundance of actually, we didn't, because we're recording this before the Super Bowl.
Watched it. We already watched the Super Bowl. We've seen the trailers. No, I'm just kidding. But we did title it to make you think that we did.
Haha. This is actually going to be a general discussion about the Super Bowl trailer time. It's a great time to preview what's coming. Wait, we already did a preview episode.
Hey, let me ask you
It's just a great way to keep movies in the pop culture landscape.
Let me ask you a question. So we've been doing this for a little over a year, and I make that joke sometimes of when I go to see movies, like, oh, I wonder if we're gonna get a trailer that we've never seen before. I was under the impression that the trailers that we're going to see on the Super Bowl would have been out already this weekend.
Some of them will.
Some of them will debut for the first time.
So the first couple of trailers will probably air before the game. Like 30 minutes to an hour before. Like they'll just be on NBC before the game, like during the pregame stuff.
Like Legion.
Maybe.
No, that was during the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah, it was. So a couple will come out, and then the rest will play throughout the game.
Stranger Things 3.
No.
That's what stole the show last year for me. That's the thing I was fist pumping the most for.
Well, considering for whatever reason, I can't remember anything else that came on during the Super Bowl. And I did a whole...
Kong Skull Island.
No. But, damn it, you threw me off. So anyway, check out, I did a whole bunch of video reactions on the YouTube channel, so definitely go check that out. Link in the description down below. You can see my direct thoughts to all of these trailers here. But and I just kind of want to talk about sort of where we are in general with movies, because again, it's all about the anticipation of all this stuff. And we had Ant-Man and the Wasp, and I talked a little bit about it. I did a trailer reaction. I talked about it on my movies episode, but I wanted your take on it because you are a bigger Ant-Man fan than I am, I think, for the movie. And I want to know what your thoughts were on this trailer, Ant-Man and the Wasp.
I mean, I think in general, the concept and the heat meter of the property of Ant-Man is going to just be a little bit lower, just because I don't think it has... You know, it's all like leading into Iron Man. I think before the Iron Man movie came out, people were excited for Iron Man just because it was we were going to see it on screen for the first time, but because we've gotten so much Marvel and superhero stuff, it's a little bit harder to get excited for these properties that are a little bit less known. Obviously, this is a sequel now, and I loved Ant-Man. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it had some of the most unique fight scenes and interesting and exciting and fun fight scenes, and the way that they did those action scenes in that movie were very clever. I was just really on board for it, and just see this trailer just brought me back into that world. And when I say that world, I mean the Ant-Man, the way that Ant-Man was shot and the way that it was presented to us was unique to the MCU, in my opinion, when we saw it. I mean, it was similar. Obviously, there were similar beats.
It also just looked different and felt different because
Yeah.
it was written by Adam McKay, and at the time, I remember when Peyton Reed was announced as director, I was just like, "What? Who?" Peyton Reed was for a long time a Who director, and in a way, he still kind of is,
Right.
Because since Ant-Man, I don't know what he's done, if he's done anything. So his identity for me right now is directly tied to Ant-Man. I know that he directed Bring It On or whatever, and then Yes Man with Jim Carrey, one of Jim Carrey's most forgettable movies. So it's like, I didn't know what the hell was going on. And I'm more excited for Ant-Man and the Wasp, I think. And I don't think I would argue with anyone who says that the trailer... I think a lot of direct reactions that we got in our Facebook group is kind of meh, or it looks like Marvel's flop, or something like that. And I was like,
wasn't that the collective consciousness going into the first Ant-Man, and then coming out of it, that was better than we thought it was going to be. I thought
I thought it was a weird reaction just because I didn't think it was a bad trailer. Right. I liked the trailer. I don't know if we saw anything like special. We didn't see Thanos coming out of the portal. Right. There aren't other heroes that are flashing their costumes. Sure, it felt smaller.
Well, it felt smaller, especially from what we've gotten recently with Marvel.
Ha! I see what you did there.
Yeah. Listen, I think part of the MCU is very interesting right now, because I think on one hand, it feels like chapters are closing, right? With everything going on with Avengers, what's it called? Age of Ultron.
Yeah, Age of Ultron's coming out. So
it just feels like one chapter's closing in this huge epic saga that we've gotten. But the heat meter for Marvel for the future, I feel like I am so excited for the fact that we're getting Black Panther, and we're getting images of Captain Marvel and like Spider-Man. Everything in the future and from here on out with Marvel is super exciting. Like chapter 2 of everything coming in the future, the fact that Black Panther and Captain Marvel and Ant-Man and the Wasp and Spider-Man and whoever else comes out of Infinity War is what's going to be the future. I'm like really fucking stoked for it.
It's crazy how if we went back like 2 or 3 years ago and you fed me the lineup that you just fed me, Doctor Strange, Black Panther,
Doctor Strange too.
I'm like, okay, now we're going for all these heroes that I didn't grow up with, that a lot of people
B-list
don't. Right.
Characters, except for Spider-Man.
Well, that's an interesting statement because we started with someone like Iron Man. And even for me, Iron Man and Cap were like tier 2 or 3 growing up, because I was Spider-Man, X-Men, Batman growing up. So it started off that way, but the further along we got in the MCU, I was like, okay, now I don't like, how long can this be sustained? How long am I going to stay interested in this? It's hilarious. We get further and further from that core group of heroes. And right now, I think we are more hyped than ever before about the MCU. And it's just so weird. I do think, and I don't want to sound hypocritical, because I do think in a way that I have said before, I do think a lot of these movies are empty calories. I don't think they last as much anymore in the way that like Iron Man lasted and Winter Soldier lasted and Guardians of the Galaxy lasted.
Okay.
But man, do I get hyped for them. And you know this, Jay. I love my fast food. I love fast food.
Yeah,
I love
you eat it very frequently.
I love junk food, but so I do enjoy my time with them, and anticipating them is unlike sort of anything else that's going on in Hollywood right now. And obviously to a lot of people's chagrin, because they feel like it's people like Jodie Foster that think this is ruining it. But I mean, this is one of the most fun times anyone could have being a movie fan.
I think what a little bit of it is down to is the fact that the first sort of era of the MCU was so similar. A lot of the criticisms were similar villains, similar storyline beats, and this and that, where a lot of the new stuff that's coming out feels developed specifically for each film. So I feel like a lot of these new characters have more character to them. They're more unique. They're more interesting. Less is known about them, so it feels a little bit exciting. Just to echo everything you've said, I think it's a very exciting time to see what the future holds. And then there's that whole aspect of the Fox deal looming over. Who knows what the hell that's
which
gonna bring.
Kevin Feige's playing coy. Right. I think he's totally lying.
Of course,
Kevin Feige said that he's made no plans to.
Yeah,
but
this Fox deal, I guarantee half of it had to do with him.
And well, because people forget he came from Fox. I'm sure he has relationships with some people. I know it's been a long time, and I'm sure a lot of those jobs.
Yeah. He's got his fantasy draft.
There's a lot of
There's
a lot of turnaround on those kind of jobs over there in the studio system. But
do you think there's anybody over there that he just like can't stand? That he's just
I don't know.
Like, I'm gonna have the last laugh now, you fucking prick. You're fired.
I mean, I think it's interesting if you want to look at like where he was with, because he worked.
How much power do you actually think he has just around Disney? Like, do you think him and what's that guy's name? Michael Bloomberg. What's his name? What's that guy's name? The head of Disney. Michael Stipe, what's his name?
It's not even a Michael. Bob Iger.
Bob Iger.
God.
Iger sounds like Michael. Anyway,
Bob Iger and Alan Horn run Disney.
Do you think Bob Iger and Kevin Feige are just like really good buddies?
Probably.
Right.
Bob Iger's like, yeah.
Do you think Kevin
give me the money.
Feige carries a bigger staff than
there was that story.
Kathleen Kennedy?
There was that story that sure.
I think so too.
Well, Kathleen Kennedy has the longevity on her side. So that's actually a harder question. Maybe it wasn't so easy for me to answer, but
yeah.
But anyway,
she has the legacy.
I like the story of Ava DuVernay and Ryan Coogler editing their movies across the hall from each other. I think that Kevin Feige might have that kind of relationship with Bob Iger where he sits in on the screenings and might give his take on some stuff.
Yeah, say what you will about Disney and have your criticisms about it, but if you look at the fucking playground that they've built for these incredible directors to play in,
right?
I mean, they are literally just assembling a who's who all-star team of interesting, fascinating, and great directors to make their films.
Right.
And just people to helm these properties. Your Kevin Feige's and Kathleen Kennedy's.
Going back to the coyness of that whole Fox deal question is that people are already asking Coogler if Storm is going to be in Wakanda and play T'Challa's wife in Black Panther 2. So it's like...
Is that a thing? Kevin Marks, is that a thing?
Yeah.
It is really? I had no idea.
Yeah.
Cool.
So...
Kevin Marks is like, ugh.
People are already ready. Their gears are turning, and Coogler was playing coy to that question as well. It's like... And again, I don't know if he's involved with Black Panther 2. They haven't even announced that movie, but it's like... I think if we're already thinking about it, they thought about it months ahead of time.
Of course, yeah.
So, but anyway, so again, this kind of conversation is general because we haven't seen the trailers. So I just want to kind of react to what we might expect here. Not the trailers themselves, but something that Fox is doing. Fox is really ramping up their promotional material for this Red Sparrow movie.
Yeah.
I think that is fascinating. I love Jennifer Lawrence. I think she's fantastic. I think that most people, and I recognize this, most people are starting to get annoyed with her.
Right.
And she certainly has lost steam over the past year or so. I think it's interesting that she's popping up this way with this movie. It's obviously her Black Widow. That's what everybody's comparing it to. I think that a lot of it has to do with that because this is the most unsuspecting movie. It feels like it's the smallest movie. Yeah, it might be like just some smaller movie that comes out in March or whatever. But the fact that they're really pushing this for a Super Bowl, I think part of it has to do with capitalizing on what we saw last year when it comes to the female-led driven movies. I think that this is a direct response because I don't know that this movie is bad. I am excited to see it. I can't wait to see it. I hope that it's good. Directed by Francis Lawrence, who directed the last 3 Mockingjay movies. Or Hunger Games movies, excuse me. I don't have a problem with this movie in any way, but I just think that it's not nearly as big as the Super Bowl is making it out to be. So I'm wondering if that's what they have got in mind here, is to sort of capitalize on that movement.
I think I mean, I don't know much about this film. I don't know if it has some sort of, pre-existing property attached to it, like a book or anything like that. But
I think I don't know that it does. Oh, it's based on a Jason Matthews novel. Excuse me.
I think
yes.
there is a lot of interesting things going on with films that aren't necessarily tentpole blockbusters. Some films that are falling under the radar that are still a little bit genre. I mean, I think you can throw a film like this out. You can throw out, is it A Quiet Place? Is that what it's called?
Loud Noises, Jay.
You can throw out that film.
A Quiet Place.
Obviously, Annihilation. These are all things, maybe not necessarily Red Sparrow. And the only reason that Red Sparrow doesn't really appeal to me specifically is because it just feels like another studio making an Atomic Blonde or even like a John Wick type of movie, although it does feel a little bit more serious. It feels a little bit more dramatic than those films. But I think a film like this, along with Annihilation and A Quiet Place, like my heat meter is actually pretty high for a lot of these films.
Red Sparrow kind of reminds me of like what Black Widow could be and might be with like Colin Farrell's The Recruit. And like that comparison is supposed to be as weird as it sounds. Like,
or even
to me, it just feels like, yeah, it might be good, it might be fine, but
even like a Bourne style movie, just in the sense where it's this,
exactly.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm interested in all of these. I mentioned on the
something that might be really good and of quality, but has no business being as big as it does
in the way that
Bourne became this like ultimate franchise for no reason,
Right.
So
well, I talked about it a little bit in the Facebook group, and I think even on our most anticipated stuff, Annihilation. Even though there's a new trailer that exists. I'm so excited about this movie. Like even if it didn't have the Ex Machina, Alex Garland, is that his name?
Yeah.
Wow, surprised I pulled that.
That was really weird for me to experience. Okay.
Even if he wasn't attached to this film, I would probably be in, just doing what little bit of research that I have. The fact that it comes from the Southern Reach trilogy that seems super, super interesting and fascinating, this book series. The premise of it just looks great, and the trailers look fantastic. It looks, I've said it over and over and over again, it looks like a modern day Alien trilogy that's sort of based on Earth, I guess. I'm just so on board for it, man. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to see the trailer on the Super Bowl, just to sort of carry along with the hype of these other trailers.
Let's talk about what Paramount's doing, because Paramount has been performing poorly lately. So they're bringing Mission Impossible Fallout to the table.
Are we getting a trailer?
It's a 30-second spot.
My God.
So it's a 30-second spot, not a full trailer, but obviously it's the first footage that we're getting. Really excited about that. And then what's going on with Cloverfield? I mean, there's still nothing that's been declared as far as Netflix acquiring the film. I don't know if this trailer is going to debut. I think it is.
God Particle?
Yeah, I think it's going to debut. It makes sense. 10 Cloverfield Lane came out in the Super Bowl. We're, as far as we know, a month or two away from this thing's release. It's like,
so there's 3 alleged
such a weird
Cloverfield films that are floating, right?
What's the third one?
There's God Particle. Some people are suggesting, including yourself, that A Quiet Place could be.
I don't actually think
I know, but people have alleged that. And there was a story recently that there might be some sort of military or World War II or something like that film that's being developed.
The problem is, I would love if A Quiet Place was a Cloververse. The argument against that, though, is that it's being produced by Michael Bay's company, not Bad Robot.
Right.
I just
think it's funny that
but it is made by Paramount, and it would fit perfectly within that universe. Right. And I would love to see that, but that's not the case. And plus, just the idea of dropping 3 Cloverfield movies this year, I don't feel like that they would do that, because then you're getting into the territory of, okay, any small movie we make is just, we're going to call it a Cloverfield, and it's an overabundance, and then it's not as special, and then it's a weird Marvel thing, and it's like
it does make sense that Netflix would get into this game just because they found success with something like a Black Mirror.
I think it's an adjustment, though, because I mean,
ultimately,
I don't think it I don't think it necessarily has anything to do with the quality of the film, but I think it's an adjustment because, okay, God Particle, Cloverfield 3 is going to be a Netflix exclusive, but then this World War II movie might come out and it be a November release in theaters. It's like,
Yeah.
are we just throwing out Cloverfield movies and they're no longer event movies? Like some of them are on Netflix, like they're all spread out all over the place. That'd be something really weird.
But does it become an even bigger event if it is on Netflix? Does it become something that everybody collectively talks about on the Friday that it's released and buzzes about, whereas in something where it gets eaten up by other films? I think that 2018 is the year that Netflix pulls their, and we'll talk about it more when we talk about Altered Carbon. I think this is the year that they pull the guns, and I think in 2019, our perception of Netflix will have shifted.
I think Red Sparrow is a movie that makes sense to me on Netflix, but I like the idea of Cloverfield being event theatrical release
because
movies.
it's about genre, right? We've always had this thing.
It's about spectacle.
Where genre and spectacle and sci-fi and fantasy and this and that, if you're going to do it on the quote unquote small screen, you're going to have to sacrifice some things. So if Netflix can define in 2018 that is no longer the case, we will be thinking about Netflix differently moving forward. If they can say, we can do your Star Wars, we can do your Blade Runner, we can do whatever, we can do your monster things on television without sacrificing quality, then we're going to be thinking about it differently.
How excited are you for this Mission Impossible Fallout thing? I've been watching, I don't know if you, like a week or two ago, Tom Cruise got an Instagram. So he has been going nuts on Instagram promoting this thing with a lot of stills.
Wait, Tom Cruise hasn't had an Instagram?
No. He was on Graham Norton.
Follow him now.
I was going to say, he was on Graham Norton with Henry Cavill and Rebecca Ferguson last week, and they were going over how he broke his foot several months ago because they're still filming the damn movie. And then that's when they revealed, that's when those stills came out, when he was like dangling from the helicopter or whatever.
How does Tom Cruise not have 1 million followers? He only has 850,000 followers on Instagram.
It's a brand new account.
But still.
I don't know. It's still a lot.
Dude, Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
Just the word being brought, or the phrase being brought up, the notion of it, like, I don't think people realize, because people, we haven't had the following with Sight and Sound that we've had for a super long amount of time, but I went on this thing, I think it was Christmas of last year, wasn't it? Where I just all of a sudden decided I'm going to catch up on Mission Impossible films, and my God, I watched, I think, what's the most recent one? Rogue Nation?
Yeah.
I watched it 3 times. I've never done that with a movie in years, where I've sat down and watched it multiple times over and over again.
I have the most specific and particular experience seeing Mission Impossible 3 in theaters.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever had...
You have a unique experience watching Rogue Nation with me?
Yeah, it's true.
That you'll never forget, I'm sure.
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever talked about this before, but like, I had this sort of... There was a time growing up, I remember when Mission Impossible 2 was out in theaters, I remember walking by the cutout and thinking, at the time, I thought Mission Impossible was James Bond.
Yeah.
I thought that they were actually Bond movies. So it confused me when it was like, why are you... James Bond movies are always titled differently, so why are you sequeling one of them?
Right.
I thought it was always weird, which is ridiculous, because imagine... Think of how little I knew back then. Why would I ever expect Tom Cruise to be playing James Bond back in the day? That's how little I knew about the franchise at the time. So I had this great experience in War of the Worlds. I love War of the Worlds. And that's when I really, really started this big Tom Cruise kick. And I got dragged to see Mission Impossible 3 without any context of the franchise, sold in theaters, and it was one of the most kick-ass theater experiences I've ever had in my life. I was on the edge of my seat my whole time, so emotionally involved in ways that I haven't been able to replicate since then. So I've always just had a very fond, there's a special place in my heart for Mission Impossible, particularly from 3 to now. And I am ashamed that I forgot to put this on my most anticipated list.
Did you not?
I don't remember doing it.
I don't remember.
I think I totally forgot about it.
Yeah.
Shame on me.
Well, listen, here's my take. My final take with Mission Impossible, considering we only have 7 minutes now. In this segment. It's my new thing. I'm trying to focus every segment to be 30 minutes.
Oh, you mean the idea that I had
Doesn't have
probably
to
a
be.
year ago?
Doesn't have to be. I'm just trying to.
I've only got one more thing to bring up anyway. It's the elephant in the room.
My thing with Mission Impossible,
or the falcon in the room.
My thing with Mission Impossible is that I have no basis for this. It's purely speculation, something that I would like to see. I wouldn't mind if this was Tom Cruise, if this was Tom Cruise's last Mission Impossible film, but the heat meter on Mission Impossible lately has just been so much higher. Who would have ever thought that we would have gotten this new resurgence of interest in these films? I would love to see the torch be passed to Rebecca Ferguson to carry on this franchise. First of all, because it's never been a better time in Hollywood for a female to lead a film franchise like this. And also the box office is now speaking to that. It's the proof is in the pudding with that. And I don't even like pudding, but Rebecca Ferguson in Rogue Nation was so fucking fantastic. She stole the film, and that's what I want to see.
I don't think it's in his last. I think we'll know. We'll know in the way that we knew that it was going to be Hugh Jackman's last go at Wolverine.
But would you like?
It will be part of.
Would you like to see that though? Like
in general,
Jeremy Renner.
In general, that's a great idea, but I just don't think it's happening with Fallout.
Henry Cavill and his stupid mustache.
Henry Cavill looks great in the like.
How dare you?
In the 8 to
you
like.
came at me hard just now. You were like, Henry Cavill looks great.
He does. For one, you don't have the knowledge of Man from U.N.C.L.E., even though that's a whatever movie, but he did a great job. He's the only reason why that movie's good.
I want DC fans to come out and just be like, "Fuck this movie."
In the 15 second Instagram things that have come out for Fallout, I know it's just a shot of him punching or whatever. I cannot wait to see him in this movie.
I just think it's funny.
I'm glad he's in this spy movie more so than Man from U.N.C.L.E.
I just think it's funny to me that
it's a big joke. It's a big joke.
Henry Cavill in this movie, it's like,
yeah.
And I would just,
he deserves a good movie.
Still, you're dancing, you're skirting around the question of Rebecca Ferguson to carry this.
I told you I like that idea in general. I'm saying it won't apply to Fallout because we will know. We will know when it's Tom Cruise's final Mission Impossible.
How hilarious is it that Rebecca Ferguson can just straight up, and I hate to use this word, but trump these two guys that could easily 2 to 3 years ago have been
right.
Of course, Jeremy Renner is going to carry on. Of course, Henry Cavill. It's like, fuck that.
Right. What's interesting is for a long time I've talked about how Jeremy Renner.
Jeremy Renner. He's the new Jeremy Renner's
I was
cousin.
Combining Renner and Cavill. There is what I was doing.
They're interchangeable.
For a long time, I thought Jeremy Renner was the most mistreated actor in Hollywood. And then as time goes on, I think it might be Henry Cavill. He has never, ever been given the benefit of the fucking doubt. Imagine how he must...
Still never seen Man of Steel.
Imagine what went through him emotionally when he found out he was playing Superman. And you give him the movies that you've given him to be Superman. People and hardly a career outside of those movies so far.
People make the jokes all the time about Ben Affleck and how he was like checking out of the Justice League press junkets and this and that and going into it. If you go back and watch those like collective interviews of the entire cast, Henry Cavill barely says a fucking word. He's just might as well just not even be there. And it's hilarious to me. I'm sorry. Let's move on.
Well, his identity, he hasn't transcended as Superman.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm not saying people don't like him as Superman. I just don't think like...
That's a good point. Like those conversations of like, will Daniel Radcliffe ever be able to escape the role of Harry Potter? And it's like, nobody's saying that about just Henry Cavill and Superman.
The attitude that people have about RDJ and Hugh Jackman in their roles, it's like...
That's just not an issue anymore, is it?
It sucks that Henry Cavill hasn't been... Because I would like that for him. I mean, I don't think we've seen what he can do with that character.
Right.
Yeah. So glimpses of it, maybe, but not entirely.
Are we going to get... A Han Solo trailer?
I don't fucking know. And this is the Millennium Falcon in the room here. They have to.
Yeah.
They have got, and there are a lot of rumors out here supporting this. I think most people actually think it's going to happen.
Can I tell you? Wait, side note, real quick. You know Phoebe Bridgers?
Yeah.
The artist that I like? She has one of my favorite Instagram names, Millennial Falcon. It makes me laugh every time I see it.
That's the Screen Junkies Star Wars.
Oh, is it really? Okay. Maybe I'm misreading, or maybe I'm misremembering it. What is her name on Twitter? I don't know. Go ahead.
All signs point to this actually taking place. It looks like you're filming me or whatever, the way you're holding your phone. They have to. I finally think that the Last Jedi buzz has died down. Am I reading the room properly? I know that like Rian Johnson might get into it. It is
Millennial Falcon. She copied it. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
I think that it's officially died down. Like, I know people are still kind of arguing, and Rian Johnson might get picked on Twitter by people we may or may not know.
Shout out to Volpe, who just got to see Rian Johnson at the Collider Q&A. Did you see that? Did you know that?
Yes.
Okay.
God. Yes, we'll see the trailer. They fucking have to. All right.
Is that for sure? Is that 100%? Is that a lock?
No.
It's not?
You haven't fucking been hearing me talking because you're worried about Phoebe Bridgers. I said everyone thinks it's going to happen because in the trades, they have been talking about how it was rumored to come out this weekend, and on the Super Bowl, it's probably the most likely thing to happen.
How strange is that for you? Because
it's weird.
Because we keep our ears to the ground so much, and especially with you and you know what's going on coming in and out.
It's just weird.
The fact that we haven't seen it is one thing in and of itself, but to not know if we're going to get it, like, just imagine. I just want to paint a hypothetical. You're watching the game, they cut away because it's a timeout, they're trying to ice the kicker, and all of a sudden you see the Millennium Falcon zoom across the screen. What is your immediate reaction? Like, what do you do? Do you say, oh, here we go? Or are you on the edge of your seat saying,
no,
holy shit?
I'm not.
I think that's bullshit.
No.
I call it complete bullshit.
No, this is the most scared I have ever been to see a Star Wars trailer.
Is your reaction like me to More Life? Are you sitting there like waiting for them to fuck
because
up?
all the other times it's been about like we never really had to argue when Star Wars trailers were coming out because there's always something like Star Wars Celebration.
Right.
Like, we just know when that's supposed to happen, right?
Yeah.
So we've never been afraid because that's part of the hype. It's like, wait till Star Wars Celebration, wait till Star Wars Celebration. And up until this point, we've always been excited to see Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
And with The Last Jedi, even though it's not my take, a lot of people aren't excited about Disney Star Wars anymore.
I'm excited.
And I don't think they're excited for this movie. And it's just the fact that it's been so up in the air as to why this has actually been the case. Did their plans change last minute because of audience reactions to The Last Jedi? Are they trying to space it out? Like, or is it actually terrible? Like, right now,
that is only a unique take to people that pay too close of attention to these movies.
That's the conversation I'm having.
But 90% of people that exist in the entire world have no idea if this movie could be good or bad. So to them, if they see the Millennium Falcon zoom across screen, or they cut to a shot of Lando Calrissian walking up and they hear Redbone plays, and
but like right away we're gonna know if Alden Ehrenreich is terrible right away.
No,
yes, we are.
You can't take that away just by watching a trailer.
Yes, you can.
No, you cannot.
You will be able to tell from this trailer if he embodies Han Solo. Yes, you will, Jay.
No.
If they do it properly, the only other outcome is that they hide him in the trailer, and it's just him walking through the Falcon and making reactionary shots.
These are the sort of this is the sort of temperature that makes the movie fandom space annoying. No, I'm not speaking about you specifically. I'm just saying that the entire community says that the Han Solo movie looks awful because of one trailer. Like it just seems like, really? Like, can't we watch the movie and watch the movie? Because you could walk out of the movie thinking that it's great and then look back on people saying that it was going to be awful because of one trailer and think that's absurd.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
I'm telling you all the reasons why. Your first question was, is this going to happen? And I said it has to.
Yeah.
But
you're giving me an honest take.
And then I told you that the reasons why this is the most scared I've ever been to see a Star Wars trailer.
You're giving me an honest reaction. like that's an honest reaction. It's just But
I'm also telling you we're going to be able to read. We're going to be able to read Han Solo from this trailer. It's his movie. I'm telling you for a fact.
Just like I read that Guardians of the Galaxy 2 was going to be not great when I saw the trailer.
That's not the same.
How is it not? How is it not the exact same thing?
Because you, for one, then you're the one contradicting yourself there. I'm telling you.
Right, but I knew. I knew out of the gate that
you're
it was not
contradicting
gonna be
yourself because
everyone called me stupid.
Now that I'm taking the same take you are, you're arguing against me.
Well, I'm playing devil's advocate here.
I'm saying this is a Han Solo movie. Mm-hmm. This trailer is either going to show us Han Solo or it's going to hide him. And based on either result, we will be able to read Alden Ehrenreich as Han Solo, and we will be able to judge whether we like it or dislike it.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you that that's what's going to happen.
I just want people to give it a shot.
I'm talking about the trailer.
Mm-hmm. I know you are.
The movie can still be good, and I can look back retrospectively after I've seen the movie and be like, man, what a dumb trailer for a good movie.
But
But I'm telling you, this is the most scared I've been for a Star Wars trailer.
And I get that. There are already people out there who have their pitchforks just ready. And there are already people out there who will already say that this thing is burning to the ground before they even see the trailer. And no matter how the trailer looks, there is still going to be people out there.
I am not doing that.
I know you're not. You're better than that. You're not a dong. So I'm looking for you all out in the Facebook group.
As a matter of fact, I'm probably more likely to defend Han Solo when it comes out than most people. Because I'm not going into it I'm not still holding a pitchfork from Last Jedi like so many people are.
If the trailer comes out and it does get you hyped and excited, how ready for battle are you with people who just completely are not objective about it?
Oh, I'll be fucking ready.
I can't wait to watch.
I hope.
Be fun to see.
I hope.
Do you think I will participate at all?
I don't know.
In the defense,
I hope that the trailer is a banger.
Yeah,
and I hope that one person says something.
Say something
that pisses me the fuck off.
Say it,
and it will provide us weeks of content.
That's what's even more exciting. That's what's even more exciting, knowing that there are so many people in our Facebook group who are fantastic fans of film and this and that, and who are objective. I want you guys to be I'm just saying, if the trailer is great, I want you guys to be our army. Let's take these motherfuckers on, because I'm ready to go. If it's bad, it's bad. I get it. But I am just excited by the fact that all of us together can be like, you know what? We support this movie.
What I will say is I promise I will give you my 100% raw and honest reaction to the trailer. But again, I will be reacting to the trailer, and I will still be open to the film and everything that comes after it.
You know what I just realized? Everyone's going to be hearing this after the fact. So if there is no trailer, they're going to be like, these guys sound like fucking idiots.
Let's turn it off. Okay, let's move on.
All right, let's take a break real quick. I'm going to go get a Cherry Coke and Cherry Coke Zero.
Same, if you've got one.
And then we'll be
back.
You
had 6 last night.
To talk about music. The Sight and Sound YouTube page is the place to be. We always appreciate you checking out all the content we put out here on our podcast feed, but there is a ton of supplementary content in addition to what we talk about here. I'm over there doing album reviews for all the latest album releases. Ryan has you covered with movie news, reactions, and reviews. And from time to time, we even do television reactions in addition to original content that honestly is just meant to entertain you. Go to the description box of this podcast, click the link for the YouTube channel, and subscribe for even more Sight and Sound goodness. All right, let's get into a little bit of music talk. We've got a few things we're going to do. We're going to talk about this Justin Timberlake album that just dropped. Obviously, he's performing at almost at the Grammys. He's performing at the Super Bowl, which we have not seen yet, and I'm sure that will be fun. Yeah, anyways, we'll talk about his album, and then here at the top, I want to talk a little bit about the Grammys this past week. I did a whole thing about it on my music episode where I talked about the drama surrounding the Grammys after the fact, and that's not what we're going to get into here. If you want to hear all about that, the alleged sexism claims that they've got going on, you can listen to the music episode I did on this past Friday. But I do want to go over some of the winners real quick. I did these reaction videos on our YouTube channel just sort of off the cuff and seem to have done pretty good. And you can sort of see my raw reactions as they happened to some of the winners. But what do you know of the Grammys? Like, what do you know of the sort of conversations coming out of the Grammys just from your casual
You mean the specific, this year's specific show?
I mean, what was sort of your casual take? Did anything bleed over into your sort of
as far as I can tell, the Grammys sort of were the most political that they've been. I feel like that they sort of replicated a lot of what Hollywood does. Let's say the Oscars and the Emmys and things like that. It felt like it was more of that kind of thing. It also seemed like, I mean, of course, they're sort of jumped on the back of like the Me Too movement and stuff like that, and they were wearing all white, I believe.
They were wearing white flowers.
White, okay.
To sort of, commemorate that whole movement in the Senate.
Right. And they were wearing black at like the Golden Globes, so they're all sort of a part of this. It felt like it was sort of it really felt like there was a collective movement on both sides.
Were you aware of this whole alleged sexism claims that were coming out?
Going into it, no. Now that we've seen it, yeah.
Right, it was all sort of a response to what happened.
Well,
after the show.
It didn't feel like it because I knew that like Kesha was performing that song that is part of that movement about sexual abuse and everything. And so I didn't realize, looking at the nominees, how sexist it was. And then
the nominees weren't as bad. It was more the winners. Only one woman won the entire night.
Right, that's what I mean. And the fact that we get those comments, of course, you don't know about that until afterwards. I think the issue that I knew of going into it was how there's a backlash against rock representation within the show. So that was sort of the, if you could call it big, compared to
the rock representation, as in like it just wasn't represented.
Correct.
Actually, yeah, you're right about that. 100%.
Right. So I knew about
talk about that.
I knew about that going in, and obviously that's not as big of a deal compared to what's going on with.
You had Avenged Sevenfold who protested. Like did you hear about that?
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Anyways, the whole
ridiculous because they shouldn't be at the Grammys, or because
no, just ridiculous. The whole protesting thing. It's just like. I get that rock not being represented at the Grammys, people can feel aggrieved by that, but it's also, I kind of just don't blame them. I mean, it's not really a statement towards rock music, but the Grammys in general are not a great representation of music, period. It's just not. It's only towards a very specific type of popular music. So,
I don't remember who did the study, and I don't know if I brought this up on a previous episode or not, but did you know, for our listeners, 2017 was the first year in history that rap and hip hop was streamed and listened to more than the rock genre.
Yeah, I saw a whole study and graph and whatnot. And rock actually wasn't as low as I thought it would have been. The ones that were really low were like country music and electronic music, which was sort of overwhelming to me because those two genres, for as little representation as they have just in streaming numbers, their voices are heard pretty loud. I mean, like, maybe it's just because we're in the South, I hear the country stuff, but I feel like EDM's representation, I actually feel self-conscious sometimes that I don't talk about EDM as much.
Well, what's interesting about this, something like EDM, I think, that's the only way you can listen to EDM is being streamed. Like, you're not going to listen to it on the radio, is my point.
Well,
and I think that there are still audiences.
They play it a lot on Beats One for some reason.
Really?
I've made this statement before. Every time I feel like I turn on Beats One, they're playing like house music. It's like,
wait, you're talking about what's Beats One?
Beats One Radio is Apple Music's radio station. That is a streaming radio station, but it's a very big thing.
I'm talking about like local radio stations.
Yeah,
like local radio stations, that's the people who are playing pop and country. So maybe, is it possible, and I'm actually asking you, is it possible that like country music is more so listened to in that way, maybe from an older generation that's doing that? So maybe
on a more traditional, terrestrial sort of
something like country, or
for sure. And I will ask your. I know we weren't going to talk about the drama quite as much, but I will make the statement. So when coming out of the Grammys, when they're talking about the fact that only one woman won an award, I agree. I think it's a bad look in the current climate that we're at. But the whole allegations of sexism with the Grammys was a little bit particular, or a little bit sort of just strange to me, considering at last year's Grammys, the entire discussion was about two women. It was about Adele cleaning up and Beyonce winning a bunch of awards too. So it was just kind of like, I don't know if I'd necessarily buy it, but I get it. Obviously, it's something that needs to be looked at. Are there issues going on with, just maybe not necessarily sexism, but women's equality in general in the music industry? I think it's something that definitely needs to be unpacked.
I just think that's fascinating because I feel like the female stars are the biggest. So then does it legitimately come down to who put out the best product? Because to me, T Swift and Beyonce are bigger than Kanye to me.
Yeah.
And obviously we're talking about variables. I'm not talking about they're astronomically bigger.
Right.
But I feel like they are the bigger household names. They're the most commonly liked, whereas someone like Kanye or even someone like Drake, like it might be polarizing to like either of those two people, whereas Beyonce has a rabid, loyal fan base, and so does T Swift. Maybe T Swift is more so in that. My point is that if we're talking about who I think are the biggest pop stars, I do think they are the women. So can you look at the Grammys and say, I think that they legitimately were examining product here, and maybe those ladies just didn't put out their best product for once this year. I'm speculating. I obviously know nothing about it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. And that's the most I can say is I'm not sure. I mean, I think if we were to go category by category, I don't know. I mean, I could go through here and list, like, do I think the female person should have won here? Or do I think they should have won there? I don't know. But I don't know if that's necessarily the sort of battle I think they should put their efforts into.
And I'm not justifying the president?
Yeah, he basically
of whatever. Yeah, like
his statement was just very cold, and it was
it's just a lame thing to say.
Yeah, it was a very flippant remark to make, and this and that. He basically just told them that they should step up, and it's just like, man, come on, you can be a little bit more diplomatic in your approach to that. But let's go over just some of the winners real quick. The biggest story, the person that I think most people had their eye on was Kendrick Lamar. This was supposed to be his year to just sweep everything because he made the most commercial release that he's ever made, and this and that. He's super celebrated. He won 5 out of the 7 awards, but he won the awards that were specific to his genre and category. When we talk about crossover awards, things like Record of the Year, which Humble he was nominated for, and then Album of the Year, those are the ones where you have to go head-to-head with people outside of your genre. And people felt particularly aggrieved by the fact that Bruno Mars won the award over him. Do you have any reaction to Bruno Mars beating out the likes of Childish Gambino, Jay-Z, Kendrick Lamar, and Lorde for Album of the Year? I'm
going to steal this from Le Batard.
Okay.
Because I do think it encompasses where I am with sort of popular music.
What is that guy's name? The guy that actually cares about music on that show?
Mike Ryan?
Yeah, what was his take on this?
They don't let him really talk about music much. Yeah, he gets fined if he comes off as a music snob. It's one of their bits. Because it's hilarious.
He's my doppelganger.
Mike Ryan is literally Jay. And Dan Lebit... The characterization of Mike Ryan and Le Batard is literally what you and I are if Sight and Sound was completely like my show.
Right.
So what Lebitar does is he just doesn't. He might say things that are completely wrong about music, but Mike Ryan isn't allowed to interject because he gets fined if he's a music snob. It's part of their fine system.
Right.
So anyway, because Lebitar was going on and on, expecting Kendrick to make this huge political statement because he is sort of a pioneer, and this was before the national championship game, and about a week later, Mike Ryan was like, yeah, you realize that that's just not the case. Like, Kendrick Lamar isn't this big pioneer of that movement. Like, yeah, you might. It was
Pioneer of what movement? I'm sorry.
Like, Kendrick Lamar wasn't going to make this rash statement towards the president.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
He's not.
I had that same take.
He's not a loud person.
I had that exact same take. He speaks through his music.
Right. He's not a loud person.
Yeah.
So anyway, Mike Ryan was like, yeah, you're just wrong about that. So anyway,
I like that. We should get him on the show.
They were I agree. He would be the best guest that we could possibly get. Because he's so in tune with pop culture. Anyway, their take on examining Bruno Mars as the winner, Dan just said, I'm gonna read these lyrics.
Right.
And he read That's What I Like. The lyrics.
Yeah.
It's a fine song.
It's a really good song.
But when he read the lyrics
one song of the year.
When he read the lyrics from top to bottom, I was hysterically laughing at how dumb it was to think that was the song that was awarded Song of the Year.
Right.
Because he's like, this is where we are. That's what I like. That's what I like. That's what I like. That's what I like. It was so fucking funny.
Well, I mean, and actually, here's why that is a good point, because, and why I think people get frustrated by it is because the Grammys are supposed to represent it's supposed to be something people point to. If somebody were to get in an argument, somebody could say, well, Bruno Mars won the Grammy. And it's just like, really?
I'm not saying that Bruno isn't a good singer. I'm not saying those songs aren't fine. I mean, those songs are fine to me. I mean, they're not that great. But you compared him to Kendrick and Gambino in your question. And so right away, I'm seeing musicianship out of those other two artists that I don't see out of Bruno Mars.
Yeah, and that's where the Grammys get so much criticism, is because probably too much commercial appeal is brought into this. Like, for instance, I bring this up anytime we talk about the Grammys and the Oscars. The Oscars, from what I know, they don't really give a fuck about commercial appeal.
No.
If so, Marvel movies would be winning.
So
that it would be like seriously if Jurassic World won.
But exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the reason why that's kind of bullshit for this year in particular, Despacito.
Yeah.
Like, obviously that's like the most streamed song ever in history. And that's actually a popular commercial song I respond to. I mean, that's a really catchy song. I actually like that song. And the fact that it didn't get as much love as it probably should.
I don't think it got any love outside of the genre that it was specifically in.
It didn't win that though, did it?
Like a Latin song or something?
I remember seeing an article that was like, because if Despacito cannot win said award, then that means no Latin song will ever be good enough for the Grammys, because you clearly have the best one not being able to win.
I don't know. I literally don't know, and I can't look for it right now. If it won like best Latin song, but yes, it didn't win those crossover songs when it went head to head with other things. But that is the other criticism of the Grammys, is that they consistently make the safe choices in these major categories. And my tweet was, Bruno Mars winning Album of the Year is the most Grammys thing that the Grammys could have ever done.
Yeah.
Because my reaction to it was, I think people were a little off base when they were coming out with torches and pitchforks with this whole thing. Like, what the fuck? Because this wasn't a complete robbery, in my opinion. This wasn't Macklemore winning Hip Hop Album of the Year over Good Kid, Mad City. Okay, that is ridiculous. That's that is a travesty.
Right.
When I remembered that this was even nominated against him, I said to myself, of course it's going to make so much sense, because the Grammys will never, ever, ever pick something that is challenging. They just won't. It's just not in their nature to do something like that. You can throw out like when they picked Arcade Fire and this and that for album of the year, and I get that to a certain extent. But I mean, these are heavy hitters here, and they're going to go. Bruno Mars is an artist that is very retro, so that appeals to them. He's also a Grammy darling because he's very industry. You can only look at when he won the award, how many people were up on stage. The Grammys eat that shit up. The fact that songwriters were
right.
I mean, you know, if Gambino would have won, I'm sure a bunch of people would have been up on stage to hang out with him, and he would have shouted out Migos. But
oh god,
it would have been. It literally would have just been him, maybe his brother, and his producer Ludwig Göransson
and Young Simba.
But yeah, man, I don't. It wasn't a travesty to me, but it is another thing where it's like, oh god, here we go again with Grammy stuff.
Let's forget Migos and let's forget that Gambino shouted them out, because thinking about that makes me think less of Gambino.
Right.
So let's
forget all these albums that were nominated. I think Gambino probably should have won. I think he should have won over Kendrick.
Yeah,
personally. And again,
I get that.
Part of me is glad that Kendrick didn't win, specifically because of what I've said this whole time with his album Damn, is that I think it sends the wrong message if Kendrick would have won this award for Damn as opposed to Good
because if it's his most commercial. Exactly. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I just think it sends the wrong message.
As we're unpacking this and comparing it to something like, I know we haven't seen the Oscars yet, but just the Oscars as we know them, the award show is still sort of the exact opposite. The award show itself, the awards and the nominations, all of that is sort of the exact opposite of what the Oscars represent to me. But the movements behind it mirrored it closer than they ever have before. Am I right about that?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, there's a few other awards that were given that sort of make my eyebrow raise up a little bit. Like the Alessia Cara win, I think it's cool that she won. It was definitely a shock. That one was a huge underdog sort of win because SZA was nominated for a ton of awards. This Best New Artist who popped up in multiple categories. I mean, sort of like Bon Iver when his album came out and he won his Best New Artist award. He was nominated for a ton of artists for somebody to be. He was nominated for a ton of awards for an artist that was nominated for the first time ever, and SZA was like this too. So for her not to have won any awards was super shocking, and for Alessia Cara to win the Best New Artist award was a big surprise. Also, The Weeknd winning for The Weeknd in his album Starboy won Best Urban Contemporary Album over Childish Gambino's Awaken My Love was a huge shock, and beat out SZA as well.
That's annoying.
That album's not even that good.
I don't even need to fight.
I like The Weeknd.
I know. I'm not even gonna act like I need to fight for Awaken My Love because I didn't respond to that album.
To you, yeah.
But looking at the musicianship though,
yeah.
And I still enjoy I enjoy watching him perform that shit live.
Right.
It's not something, and I said this back when we talked about it the first time, it's just not something I'm ever gonna want to listen to in my car.
Yeah.
But I like watching him as a performer do those songs, what he did at the Grammys. And compared to how I didn't really respond to The Weeknd ever, it was just kind of fluffy to me. There's a good
way to put it. It's fluff.
There's no excuse for that to me.
Right. Yeah, so that's it. That's really all I wanted to talk about with the Grammys.
And I guess I just wanted to declare, just so I'm not being hypocritical, I just want them to find a balance in the way that I would like the Oscars to not just go. I know, yes, we're talking about two opposite things. One's too commercial, one is too elite or too auteur, I guess. I want them to both find a balance.
Mm-hmm.
Let some of this shit in every now and then. Jesus.
Yeah, I agree 100%. In terms of the entire show, I actually did find myself enjoying it. I had a great time watching it, even though I'm always pretty negative towards the Grammys in general, or at least my attitude towards it. Let's talk about this Justin Timberlake album. I have no idea how his performance would be. Hopefully it went well. I always have the highest hopes for Justin Timberlake because I appreciate him. I think he's incredibly talented. And I think he has a body of work and a career that people could celebrate. We've covered Justin Timberlake, at least so far this year, an immense amount. Like there's so many, I feel like Sight and Sound titled things, whether it be video or podcasts that have covered him. So I'm actually excited to just kind of put an end to talking about him.
So since Weekly's coming out afterwards, I'm wondering if he did go through with the Prince hologram.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's the case or not.
I think there's going to be, despite what we may think of this new record, I think there's still going to be a great, healthy balance of what we know and love of Justin Timberlake. I mean, he's going to play all the hits. It's not just going to be a Man in the Woods promo like it would be on a late night circuit or anything like that.
So Ross Cassidy put out a funny thing in our Facebook group talking about like what we could see during the halftime show, and one of the things was like, will we see anything of NSYNC? I think we have to. We have to see something of NSYNC. I would even love for him to do something Janet Jackson related, just to throw back to that moment. As much as he probably wants to wipe it out of his mind,
I don't know if the FCC would let him
to just even sing one of her songs.
I don't know,
to reference it.
Maybe.
Well, the FCC couldn't stop them from performing a song.
Yeah, but TV hates that moment so much. I mean that moment was television's 9/11.
I know. Yeah. I don't even want to get into it. But I think the thing, and you brought something up that I think is interesting, like playing the hits, and that's what people know of Justin Timberlake, right? Like we don't need to ask a lot from him. We just want him to put out the hit songs, and that's sort of what his career has become. However, I think the interesting thing about Justin Timberlake, and I think the thing that everybody wants to say that nobody will admit, is that we all kind of think there's more in him. If I said that, if I were to say to you, there is something of brilliance buried inside of Justin Timberlake, do you think that's a fair statement?
Well, I mean, we talked sort of about, like, I think this was a couple weeks ago, I suggested that I think that we're all in agreement. I think we just think of Justin Timberlake as an overall celebrity now.
For sure.
Like, I don't think of him for his music anymore.
Do you think there is a Childish Gambino moment, Awaken My Love moment buried somewhere inside?
It depends on how he reacts to this record being so poorly received. He might be so big that he doesn't have to give a fuck, because he's going to go hang out with Fallon. He's going to do all the funny stuff that he does. He might do another movie. He might have all these options. He might not take this as seriously, or he could go the other way and be like, damn, I really messed this up. I really have something to prove.
It is,
but it would have been an album too late.
It
should have happened here.
It is too early to judge the overall reception of this album. Pitchfork released their review, which, whatever. I've been very critical of Pitchfork, but it's always interesting to check the critical sort of, snobby reception of it. They gave it a 3 out of 10.
Yeah.
Eager to see
3.8, Jay, be fair.
I'm eager to see what Fantano gives it. I have not done my review. It's coming this week on Sight and Sound on the YouTube channel. Leading up to this album, we got the 3 singles. I've said my piece about that, and I've talked extensively about how what he was presenting to us conceptually via the artwork, via the title, what he was saying about the album, and what he was giving to us in song form was very strange. Let me just say this before we get into the album discussion here. I do think it's starting to make sense, because what he said about the sound on this album was that he wanted to marry the idea of modern sound and modern production and what's trendy right now with his roots, being from the South, the sort of Americana country vibe. He wants to put those things together. You've listened to some of it. I've now got to sit through this. I've had to sit through this album 3 times from front to back. Just off the bat, your raw reaction to what you've heard.
In response to what you just said, what he wanted to marry, his interpretation of that sucks.
Fair.
It's a mess. Like, listening to
That's literally what my tweet was.
Listening to that album, I don't get that.
Right.
I don't get that marriage of styles from this album. It's unique and different in the sense that music does not sound like this to me.
Right.
which is weird because he's trying to use it's just so it feels so backwards to me.
Yeah.
Especially given the label of Man in the Woods. That's why I said it would have come an album too late if he responds to this and does Awaken My Love. It's an album too late because Man in the Woods seems like that was the promise there. That this was going to be his Awaken My Love, and it's just a weird thing for him to do.
I'm sort of on a different I'm sort of going in a different direction than you, in the sense that I think listening to this album, and maybe it could be just because I spent more time with it, the idea that he's sort of presented to us sonically, I get it. I get what he was going for, and I can hear those things in his music. I just think the execution was terrible. I think it was fucking awful. In fact, like there were times when I was listening to this for the first time that I was literally covering my face thinking, why is he doing this way?
Right.
That's what bothers me about it. This idea that he sort of that he wants to do, this execution that he wants to do, it makes sense and it can be done. In fact, we've heard it before in certain areas, and I would need more time to actually give you examples. But I feel bad for him because if I could give him one bit of advice, he needs to take this and run as far away from Pharrell, Timbaland, and James Fauntleroy, his songwriter. Get the fuck away from these people, because they want to make these really shiny, glistening, glossy pop songs with this sort of interesting idea that you've come up with. Get the fuck away from these people, because they are ruining your artistic vision and career, in my opinion. Not career. That's bad, because his career will flourish from this. But people are laughing at you right now. And they're laughing at you, in my opinion, because of these three people. Go and make a record with Noah 40 Should Be, Drake's producer. Go and make a record with Childish Gambino. Go and make a record with fucking Justin Vernon of Bon Iver. Like, these are people, with James Blake even. Kendrick Lamar, he's putting out songs with James Blake on the Black Panther soundtrack, and people are celebrating him.
Right.
Get away from these people that are just... You know what? He will probably win a Grammy for this album. I swear to God, he probably will. It's just a mess, man. This whole thing is just.
Will you make a message to Justin Timberlake video?
Sure, it'll be called my review.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I'm going to say a lot of the stuff in my review. I don't think this is an absolute, like, this isn't offensively bad to me. I think this sums up everything.
I mean, I expect better.
100%
from Justin Timberlake.
I've expected better for the entirety of his career. I've never been able to fully enjoy a full Justin Timberlake album from front to back. He has isolated moments. This sums up this album perfectly. So I joked about his song Supplies. I did that reaction and think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Listening to all the songs, other than the one song that he did, the Say Something song with Chris Stapleton, that Supply song I think is great now, just because of
everything else.
Everything else, yeah. I mean, it's kind of a bummer, but
it's all you have to latch on to.
Yeah, and one of the biggest fears that I had going into this album was just how disjointed everything would sound, and how maybe in the context of the rest of the album it would make sense. Yeah, that didn't happen. It sounds super disjointed.
Are there any interesting guest appearances aside from Stapleton?
Alicia Keys appears on the album. And is Ed Sheeran on it? I can't remember.
Did he ruin them?
Ed Sheeran?
Are they bad on it?
Alicia Keys wasn't terrible, I don't think. Nothing really stuck out to me in terms of the guest appearances. And they weren't littered all over the project, which I guess I kind of appreciate that. It just isn't working for me, man.
Yeah.
It makes me bummed because he's so talented.
I'm sorry to hear that.
It's okay. I have to piss hard right now.
You always do.
I know. It's that damn cherry Coke Zero. Let me know what you guys think of the Justin Timberlake in the comment section below. Look for my album review. I need to film that like super soon, but I don't know if I'm going to have time this weekend.
All right.
We'll be right back. If you want to take your love of sight and sound to the next level, head on over to our website, sightsoundpod.com, and check out all of our merch we have available. Throughout the year, we drop entirely new lines with tons of new designs, and every single month we drop monthly exclusive designs that once they're gone for good. Every time you buy merch from sightsoundpod.com, you are not only supporting the show and helping to make it better, but you're going to look great while you're doing it. We've got t-shirts, hoodies, tank tops, phone covers, wall art, stickers, and more. Get your swag, support the show, and look great while you're doing it. Somehow, some way, some shape, and some form, we have managed to perfect this 30-minute segment thing this week. We're like on schedule. This is a great idea that I came up with.
Well, this segment might only last.
I just want the show to feel a little bit more concise. So Ryan came to me and he was like, Jay, we need to make the show. We need to tighten it up a little bit. And I was like, you know what? Let me sit with this for a minute. And then I agreed, but I never told him that I agreed. That's my thing. Sometimes you just need to make it happen.
And ultimately, what we're doing here isn't actually making it more concise. We're going to hit a regular runtime.
We're just being mindful. Just being mindful.
Well, this might only take 15 minutes. We're going to react to the brand new Netflix series, Altered Carbon. And the reason this is sort of a reaction, it's only been out for like 3 days. I've only had time to watch 4 episodes. You've watched 1.5 episodes.
I've watched 1.5, but I think where I'm coming from is just more, I think this is a sort of like a marker in the ground for Netflix. And I sort of want to talk big picture.
Look, it was easy to make fun of. You sent me a text, I remember a couple weeks ago. You were like, oh, did you see the new Blade Runner trailer on Netflix?
Yeah, I feel like we just haven't really talked about it much. But
Yeah.
like, it's funny because somebody posted about it in the Facebook group. And of course, they started doing the Blade Runner thing. And I was like, were people not aware that we were joking about this? But then I realized that we really haven't talked about it on air. This has been on our radar for a minute.
Well, I made a statement a couple weeks ago that I hoped that this just like kicked everybody in the nuts in terms of viewership to like prove a point to Hollywood.
That was off air.
No, it wasn't.
I'm pretty sure it was.
I said it on air.
And I made that joke on After Party that Blade Runner was going to be on Netflix soon. And you were like, I just bought it. But I was like, no.
Well, if I didn't say it on air, I wanted them in the way that Bright was so successful because it had 11 million viewers. I wanted Netflix to make a show, and if it was going to be like Blade Runner, I thought it would be hilarious if it just completely outperformed Blade Runner 2049, and not in the sense that I have anything against that movie.
Yeah.
I just want Hollywood to shake it up a little bit and realize that Netflix is in the game. But which is funny because in contrast to that, I had no idea. Again, talk about unsuspecting shows on Netflix. The fact that Netflix just shits out shows now. Sometimes it's hard for me to gauge which one I'm supposed to be paying attention to. I certainly know which ones I am interested in.
How do we know if this is successful or not, first of all?
Well, we don't.
Do we just come out on Monday and people are randomly talking about it?
We don't, unless we can sort of gauge the heat meter online, and if Netflix wants to make a statement about it, which they may or may not do.
We listen to the watch.
Right, yeah. I mean, but what I've seen so far in this 4 episodes, it's a much more interesting, engaging, better show than I ever expected.
Yeah.
I enjoy it, and look, you're absolutely right in the sense that this is a really interesting chapter, a marker in the Netflix era history of things. Because I don't even need to have the conversation about Altered Carbon sort of challenging Hollywood. I think more than anything, Altered Carbon challenges Netflix.
What do you mean in that regard?
If Netflix can make a show like Altered Carbon.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Then I don't want to see the Defenders, the Avengers on television.
Looking like a DC
I don't want
CW show.
I don't want you to hide Jessica Jones lifting a car behind another car.
Right.
Because it was a cheap trick. I don't, like, what are you doing? I know that Skydance is responsible for part of this production. Skydance has helped produce the latest Terminator movie, and like they're a big Hollywood production company. They're helped with I don't know if they've helped Mission Impossible, but they've helped the last couple of Bad Robot Star Treks. Skydance is a very prominent film production company right now. So the fact that they're co-partnering this makes Netflix that much more bigger to me in a way that I didn't realize before.
It's an interesting show because I think I sat down to watch it. You know, I was kind of excited about it just because I knew what they were putting on the table. I think they were basically, from an unashamed point of view, making this seem like it was something Blade Runner-ish. Like they were marketing towards that audience. And so much so that it was a joke. Like it became a joke at some point. And when I went into it, when I started this episode, from the first scene, I was like, holy shit. They are playing for fucking keeps with this show.
Yeah.
Now listen, I don't want this conversation to be misconstrued. I'm not 100% sold on the show, not because I don't think it's good, not because I even have criticisms. This show is not easy to digest at all, in the least. I think it's very high concept. It just does not try to treat its audience like they're stupid. They don't explain hardly anything going on, which I appreciate, man. It is very deliberately paced as well.
I'll compare it to Game of Thrones, but in actual contrast. So I'm reminded of Game of Thrones in the sense that, it hopes
they drop you in.
It hopes that you're hanging on,
and they leave you there,
and that you're picking up on this shit. Because at first it is overwhelming, the amount of mythology and terms that they throw out at you. And I remember experiencing that for the first time watching Game of Thrones.
And what's more challenging about that is they're also throwing the visuals at you.
Yes.
And it also makes it hard for me personally watching it. It made it even more difficult to digest it. The fact that I was seeing this shit on television. I was like, what is this? First of all, the little villain people, the
Praetorian Guards.
Those things.
Praetorians.
Those things look great.
Yeah.
They look like something straight up out of like a video game.
And they're so simplistic too. Like
just
it reminds me of the alien work in Attack the Block. Have you seen Attack the Block?
I haven't seen it yet. Need to watch.
The aliens in that movie, they're just it's almost like a black little bear.
Yeah.
But it's so black you can't see it. Like it's like absolute black.
Right.
To where you just can't make out anything. So the only thing left to see are these glowing green teeth.
Mm-hmm. So
that's all you see running around. And it's so simple yet so effective. And that's what I thought of when I saw the Praetorian Guards. To continue my Game of Thrones point, Game of Thrones has more characters that you have to worry about. This does not. This has an obvious lead and supporting cast. And this show is worse about exposition dumps in a way. There's been a couple of scenes that have only served that purpose,
right?
For the show, but
there was that one where he was sort of after he woke up, and I guess I'm not even going to say spoilers. Just listen. Well, we're just going to give you some context. There's that scene when he's sitting in the room and they're like explaining to you how basically the world works, but that was the only one that was like super obvious.
The worst one's actually in the second episode that I saw.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the obvious jokes.
I was playing Bejeweled. I don't really remember.
The obvious jokes going into the show is, for one, the title's just stupid. It's two cool words the same way that
based off a book though.
Right. It's two cool words, just like Blade Runner is. At least
Blade Runner changed the name of the book. They didn't name it do whatever androids dream of electric sheep.
Yeah. And Joel Kinnaman has not been an effective lead to me. I know a lot of people are fans of The Killing. You watched The Killing,
loved
right?
him in the Killing.
He's not a very interesting lead to me.
He's better with facial hair. In fact, to your point,
he's got a beard in Killing, right?
Yes.
Whiskers at least.
Personally, I'm just going to throw this out there. I thought the character at the beginning of the show, the Asian character, in the shootout.
Yeah.
I thought he was great.
Mhm.
I thought he was fantastic.
I don't know his name, but he's been in several things. I think he was in the Wolverine.
Was he?
Yeah, I think
I
so.
thought he was really good.
I know somebody that was working on a script for that guy. Anyway,
okay. What?
it's a cool fun fact.
Okay.
Right?
Shinfo.
It's a Shinfo. Yeah. Where are we?
I think that this being on Netflix, first of all, it kind of makes me listen. I'm as guilty as anybody of not sort of going out on Netflix to scavenge the seas for great things to watch. I know that there are Netflix exclusive shows that exist out there that are sci-fi that really would appeal to me that I've just never given a chance because honestly, I'm scared to get into them knowing that I might be seeing like The Magicians on there or something like that, or a Legends of Tomorrow. It's like, I get it that you're trying to do this big show on television, but I can fucking tell. And Marvel is guilty of that as well. It makes me want to go out and watch a show like, I don't know the names off the top of my head, but there's like a few shows that I've seen on there that I'm like, this looks cool, but this could be nothing. You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about.
The names of them escape me.
Well, it's because Netflix is just so about volume.
Right.
And I'm not saying there aren't good Netflix shows.
But after watching this, would you be more down to at least test the waters of other like science fiction types of shows on Netflix?
I'm just curious about this. It's not making me more curious about what else is on Netflix.
Yeah.
Really. And again, going back to sort of that argument, like, why are they giving us things like I think something I always criticize the Marvel shows for is, for one, the action always looks fake, but also like some of the supporting characters are like procedural television worthy. Like some of the acting is like, it's obvious acting, and it's just
the acting in this show is not my favorite.
I've never really responded to a lot of supporting characters in Netflix shows because, okay, you have your Joel Kinnaman who, you know, say what you want about him as a leading man in Hollywood in general, but then if the best you've got is Joel Kinnaman, and I'm not saying
wasn't he also RoboCop?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not to say that there might not be a standout. I think the actor who plays Poe, the AI in the hotel, I think he's a great actor.
Yeah.
James Purefoy, he's okay as Bancroft. I mean, he's just Mr. Kovac. He's fine, and he's a great actor, but
I'm anxious to see if I do latch onto this. It was definitely a Kayla's alley because it was so noir murder mystery, which is something that she's very interested in. And it's funny, I was kind of wanting to pay attention to the critical response to the show, and it's been pretty mixed. Like people were like, the acting, the story, but it's overwhelming that people are essentially taken back by how this looks and how this is presented.
And I think there's actually a lot to explore. Like, I think the entire show is based on, I think this is represented in the trailer, that he is supposed to be solving this guy's murder in a world where your consciousness is put on a disc, and that disc can be carried in any body that you want. So Ryan Snelling might exist for thousands of years, but I'm going to look different every time.
It's a fantastic premise for a TV show if they ever need to recast.
Yeah.
Like it really is. Like this could be a Doctor Who moment without it being like a thing like, oh, there's
That's
a
good
million
point.
Doctor Who's.
But in this case, it was the most creative example of whitewashing that I've ever seen in my life, where the main character's name is Takeshi Kovacs, and he starts off Asian and then is replaced with a prominently white actor. I had to make that joke, but he's not gone. He's interwoven throughout the show. The other version of him, but
it sort of makes me interested in the sense where, like, the premise that we're being sold on for this first season about trying to solve this mystery, I'm sure people are thinking to themselves like, oh, well, how much story can they actually tell centered around this one mystery? That is not a problem because of the mythology that they're building. There's like wars that have been fought. There's multiple planets, and it's just like, in fact, there's a 200-year time jump in the first episode. 200 years. Are you fucking kidding
That's what
me?
I was gonna say. It's like you're led to believe that this is sort of the backbone of the show is this mystery, but like he's skeptical. It's a man out of time story essentially. So he's skeptical of who he's even being. He's skeptical of James Purefoy's character, and he's a hired gun, and he's sort of exploring the world that he's in right now. And so there's a lot going on. Each episode kind of has a different avenue to explore in the landscape. You're not always going to be focused on the murder mystery at hand.
And there's like religions and
yeah,
philosophies that are going on.
And a lot of that it goes on like an episode at a time. So each episode has a kind of particular focus with that overall narrative behind it. And
I feel like people who have watched Sense8 are just super frustrated with this right now because they're like, obviously not the science fiction portion, but like they're like, you guys are talking about mythology and celebrating the mythology, and Sense8 already did this.
Again, going back to comparing it to Netflix, it's so weird because this looks like they made 10 Brights.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, that's a good point.
Bright was like 90 million ballpark, I believe.
Yeah, their movie should look better.
And Altered Carbon looks better than Bright, and they made 10 of them. And I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if Skydance has that, makes that big of a difference because they were a part of this production. It's just, and you know, maybe Netflix is more of a, I haven't looked into it. Maybe Netflix is more of a distribution role and Skydance was making this
for somebody else.
I think this is an interesting reaction.
But who else could have bankrolled something like this?
I don't know.
HBO?
It's weird because I don't think it would have gone on Sci-Fi because it looks better than anything that's on Sci-Fi. Yeah. This is another weird.
Looks better than Stranger Things.
It does.
Yeah,
it does. I mean, we're gonna get Altered Carbon.
This is the best looking. This might be the best looking TV show outside of Game of Thrones I've ever seen.
We're gonna sit through this entire season of Altered Carbon, and then we're gonna get Jessica Jones season 2, and we're gonna be like, what the fuck? Yeah, because that comes out next month.
Right.
It's or this month. Is it this month? At the end of the month? I don't know. We'll figure it out. It's such a weird thing to assess. It's also funny to think about the fact that we're watching Amazon sort of direct its course. Like this makes more sense as an Amazon show.
100%.
Because Amazon is trying to unpack these blockbuster shows. They are counter programming to Netflix, right? Or again, talking about quantity versus quality, where I think Netflix is worried about quantity. Just sort of having the thing of the week, whereas Amazon wants to have the thing of the year.
This is just the beginning. I said this a while back. I don't remember what conversation we were actually having, but if all these places are starting to really go on this war and this battle for properties, I think I made the statement, you only need to look so far as Hollywood and big blockbusters and big tentpole movies and stuff like that are being celebrated. And it's all science fiction. It's all fantasy. It's all genre based. This is just the beginning, man. I mean, this is what we have to look forward to. If you're sick of what's out in the theaters being genre, you better fucking get ready because you're going to get a lot of it on television if this is what we're going to be getting.
I think it's hilarious because I'm still not really sure where we are time wise. They might have thrown out what year it is.
We're at an hour and 56 minutes.
So I think it's funny to look at, like, this is a show that I think obviously wears, I mean, talk about wearing your influences on your sleeve, right? And not just Blade Runner. The fact that there are drugs that go through the eyes reminds me of Looper. I think it's hilarious looking at all the inconsistencies when it comes to where you are in the timeline, where there are things that are so like super futuristic, and then you have a lead character smoking a cigarette, being told not to smoke.
Yeah, it could have been vaping.
Like, I think that's hilarious.
Maybe they found out vaping causes cancer. No, this is actually an interesting point. I do think it's funny that there was a 200-year time jump, but
it looks the same.
Nothing's changed. Yeah.
Right. I like the idea. This is something I was a little bit worried about because, again, we were talking about Blade Runner. I was worried about you because I was hoping that the show didn't linger on AI. That way we could have a much more interesting conversation. And so far it hasn't.
I thought it was going to be beat for beat.
Right.
In essence, the only thing that is literally copied from Blade Runner are just certain aesthetic choices. First of all, the logo, the title being in glossy red is one hint, but also like flying cars, like the cars look very similar.
Well, and then you have
guns.
I mean,
attire.
Kinnaman looks like a discount Gosling.
Yeah.
With just having that tall, muscular guy with that long trench coat. Like
Lots of Asian
the
people.
entire, the entire aesthetic of it is Blade Runner.
Yeah, I mean, I think if I don't know much about the book and the property itself, but it came out in 2002, and I think the guy was definitely inspired by Philip K. Dick,
Right.
And some of the premises led on in Blade Runner. But I like it, man. I celebrate it.
Yeah.
I love your theory. In fact, I told Kayla about it and whatnot, that this could be like a big fuck you to being like, if you want to make this movie, then we'll make this TV show and we'll make it maybe not necessarily better, because I definitely don't think it even holds a candle to Blade Runner 2049. But
Right.
there's no reason why you can't have the conversation of we can do this on TV.
Yeah.
I like it, and it makes me really excited about the future.
Right. No, so anyway, I'm enjoying the show, and I can't wait to finish it. I really like it. And so I hope that I would like to get everyone else's take out there on it. I think it's really interesting to watch. I think if anything, I feel like maybe it's a little slow. Or long, I should say. I don't know if it's slow. I'm fine with the pacing of it, but it does feel like it's a little long. Maybe they could have been more 45-minute episodes compared to an hour. Because sometimes I feel like I've watched a ton and I'll hit pause and I'm only halfway.
I think that's where I'm at. I want to spend more time with it, but I need to get in the right mindset. I think when I sat down to watch it, I was not expecting what we got. So
Yeah.
I think I need to like clear my schedule and just sit down and really invest some time in watching it.
Right. But anyway, yeah, I'm digging it. I can't wait to finish it. So let us know what you think of Altered Carbon. And if you finished it, don't spoil anything, but let us know what you thought.
If you're hanging out for this TV portion, make sure you're paying attention to what we're covering on our TV show. We're watching Counterpart, enjoying it so far. We're covering every single episode on Sight and Sound TV. So if you listen, there's not much on HBO right now. I canceled my HBO subscription for the duration of this so that I could subscribe to Starz.
It's Counterpart.
So that I could watch Counterpart. And then once it's over, I'll probably cancel Starz and then go over to HBO. That's also a look into the future where we're going to have to be bouncing around, different streaming services and this and that. But it's been good so far. TV's been interesting. It definitely hasn't been slow.
I think it's all good. Like 2018's been good.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
Probably stronger for TV than it has been for movies so far, but that's to be expected, I think, in January. Where can they find you online?
Find me on Twitter and Instagram at WhatUpSnell. I might be adding movie commentaries to the schedule. I might do like 2 a month or so.
It's going to be released as podcasts?
Yeah.
Really? I mean, it's cool, but
what else would they be?
I don't know. YouTube? I have no idea.
I don't know about that. Releasing another video for a movie, that's never made much sense to me.
Right.
Unless you're sitting at your computer and you have 2 tabs open and you're watching a movie at your computer.
Yeah.
I don't get that.
Yeah, I don't care.
I don't
It's
know.
interesting. Yeah.
But then again, I'm formatting it to where they don't have to be watching the movie.
For sure.
I'm just going to be talking about
what you can just live somewhere.
Yeah, you can just have it on and listen to me. I mean, you can listen to me talk about the movie, but you don't have to be watching it with me necessarily. But anyway, I might be adding that to schedule. I'm going to experiment it with it first, and then you'll see it drop. And subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. I'm hoping that we're getting a lot of new listeners. We always have new subscribers on Podbean, and I'm thankful. Our Spotify plays have been doing pretty well. So yeah, if you're a new listener, we welcome you, and thanks for checking out our content.
You can find me at Jaye Williams, J to the A to the Y to the E on Twitter and Instagram. Is the same for both. Check out our website, sightsoundpod.com for shirts. I'm going to be working on some new shirts here pretty soon. Don't know when. Need to do a Counterpart shirt, though, for sure. You can also check out all the music that we've got going on, Brave the Storm stuff on Spotify, Apple Music. I don't know if it's on Tidal, but I don't know. I just released my old band's music. It'll be up on Spotify as well. Got Some Life, my solo project, Separator as well. More Than Music should be dropping at some point this month. I'm excited about it. Be on the lookout for an announcement video that I'm going to make, sort of explaining it and this and that. Might be a vlog style thing, but I'm excited about it. You got anything else? He just shook his head. No. Big music month coming up in February. I love you. Hopefully the Super Bowl was good. Go Rams. Bye.